Hi guys, Joe here with Inkilo Inc, and I know it's been a while. This isn't part of the bulk recording that I did a while ago. All that's Fossil Fighters videos, so I'll slowly get those pushed out in between, more card content. Basically, it was just the reason why I was gone for a month is simply due to life, between work and just other problems. I was busy. I kind of addressed it in a post that I made yesterday, but that's besides the point. I'm sure you guys care more about the cards, and today we're going to be looking at Phytora version 1. This is the original first draft, you could call it, of Phytora that I made. There's actually 3 versions. There's the one you all know and love, this version, and then the middle. I've got a few cards. This isn't all the cards, but I've got a few cards that either didn't make it in the original or the newer Phytora set or just have massive design changes. So we'll look at those after we take a look at these guys. So to start off, we've got Apple Core. Not too different between the 3 iterations, but in this case, he's got drool between his mouth. Silver Terrorweed, massive design shift compared to other versions. This is more like a human-esque warrior, which I still think this is a very cool design, but I think the others are probably more my favorite. Drillloom, a different angle, you could say, in a different head shape. Also, real quick, the reason why I'm not really going to explain how to play this game is because you really couldn't play this game. It's not really a game. Basically, it was kind of like Pokemon, where Drillloom had to be placed on Topsy Shroom to be played. So the evolution, instead of being more generalized in the newer version, was more Pokemon-like. Otherwise, you got HP, and then every plant has, 1 or 2 attacks. Sometimes they have abilities. Whoops. And then all the silver boosts obviously work the same way, and then they have, their silver boost ability. But other than that, this isn't really a playable game. In fact, I kind of stole the idea, well, didn't really steal, but I got the idea to make a plant-based card game based off another YouTuber I watched as a kid. I only saw a few of his videos. He only had a few when I found him, and then I could never find him again. But he had really good-looking art, and I think the idea was plants and animals mixed together. I don't know, I just remember there being like an electric cat berry card, and it was really good art, and it made me want to draw my own, only I used Plants vs. Zombies. I literally just went onto the wiki and I would look at all the plants they have and then make my own version. So this is Taser Beam, and then this is the this was Silver Taser Beam with a laser beam gun, and then this is regular Taser Beam. Celery. This is kind of a really basic one. It's literally a piece of celery with eyes, but cell as in like money, so you get to draw a card or whatever. Peapod Beast. Peapod Beast was one of my favorites as a kid. A lot of these designs I was planning on bringing into Phytora, the newest version, but I was planning on doing it down the line in other sets, which obviously aren't happening. Halo Nut. This is the opposite version of Spike Nut, otherwise known as Punish Shell in the newer version. They got a redesign, so I would be interested to see how I would have done a redesign for Halo Nut. Oh, speaking of Spike Nut, so these two are kind of like opposites. Spike Nut eventually became Punish Shell, though, which is a far better design in my opinion. Solar Fern. Gold Leaf. Oh, some of the cards have colored backgrounds. There's like yellow, black, and brown, I think. Yellow being like light and sun, black being like dark, and then brown being like primal dinosaurs. I think that's it. Gold Leaf. The opposite version of Troll Leaf. Actually good. Fungus Bloom Shroom. pretty generic, just a mushroom-shaped design with a flower, though a stinky flower. Silver Radisaw. So Turnrip actually had an evolution called Radisaw, and then this is the silver version of Radisaw. Not as cool as regular Radisaw in my opinion. It just feels over-designed. I think these are supposed to be 2 separate arms, but I don't really remember, and I don't know why I gave him a tail. I think I gave him a tail because I drew him too far over. And then here's Radisaw. I really like Radisaw as Turnrip. No. We'll see Turnrip later. And Kilo Nut, I still think that's a very good design. With the peanut shell, tail club, I love that. Carno Veggie. Nice Carnotaur. Dino Lord Bean Rex. So, my plan for set 2 was to be dinosaurs. I kind of have a general style of doing sets or planning out sets for my game. Usually I'll do a base set with like generic things, and then like a dinosaur set because I love dinosaurs, and then like a medieval set, and then from there I kind of, get less specific. That's usually how I follow. And instead of Dino Lord Bean Rex for set 2, I was going to make Tyrannosaurus Rex, which I think is a lot better than Bean Lord or Bean Rex. Stinger Leaf, not to be confused with Leaf Stinger. Leaf Stinger is more so based off the evolution of Stinger Leaf. Garstink, and Garlic, which would eventually become Garlic Onion. Blooming Chomp Bud, like a weird Venus. The idea is that these are 4 separate mouths that all clamp together, but it kind of looks like it's just got like a divot. So, still not a bad design. I really like that one. Brachiofruit. This is a pretty terrible design in my opinion. That does not look very good. Solar Healer. I had a lot of fun with this one. The idea is that it's a, healing plant, but it's also got a super huge Mega Beam, but it only does 10 damage. Thorn Kumquat, which I would later have it become Pequot, the adorable little Pequot. Snackroot, which would evolve into Veg Viper. Potato Lord, or Potatord. Tater Lord is a much better name. Also, so this was based off Potato Mine, most likely, because he's got the little mine stem, which obviously was dropped and lost. I think I vastly improved Tater Lord's design. Then we have Gignut. It doesn't really look like a plant. I probably wouldn't make this, but he evolves from Nuddle, which kind of looks like a plant, if I remember correctly. Medflower, this evolves into Solar Healer, or whatever it was, with the Mega Beam that I was talking about. Moonbloom, this evolves from Moonbud. Pretty basic. Budstinger. Budstinger evolved into Bloodstinger, but Bloodstinger has a much different design compared to the current version of Phytora. Melonbrute hasn't really changed. I think this design, though, I think I like this one a little bit more than its actual Phytora counterpart because of how I did the vine connecting. So with Phytora and, my newer art style, I like to have everything outlined in a black line. And that's really hard to do with colored pencil when you're trying to draw something very thin. So, Broccoli Squid, I think it's got a much better design. I think I made them far superior. Dilophoblum. This has pretty much nothing to do with the newest version of Dilophoblum. This is more, I wouldn't say more accurate to the dinosaur. Neither is the newer version. But this is more Jurassic Park-esque. Like with the pollen acid attack and then pollen boost. It's more aggressive, I should say. Whereas regular pollen, or Dilophoblum is more support oriented. Then we have Kaboom Bloom, which is, I think, I had a lot of fun drawing this one and thought it was really good. I think it's a little plain now, but I like its shirt with the skull. Sunlord Tulip, and I don't have his counterpart right now. So to play him, you gotta sacrifice 3 sun plants, which are the yellows, and then he's a very strong card, 500 HP. So all the plant types are pretty much the exact same, which you can see right here. There's like flower, fruit, veggie, nut, but instead of berry, I think I have bean, and there's only like 3 or 4 bean cards in the entire game, in this entire card set, which I think is fascinating. Blooming nut. So originally, this wasn't a yellow card. It just had a picture of a sun in the background to show that it was blooming, you know, because it evolves from sad nut. But then when I introduced the sun cards, it just made sense to make it a sun plant, mostly because I already shaded it in. Did we skip over? We did. This is Cactikill, pretty much based off of Cacturn from Pokemon. And then we have its silver version, which is far worse. I hate it so much. It's supposed to be like a weird gargoyle thing with mace hands, but it's so dumb looking. I hate it so much. Moon Snapper, basically just Chomper from PvZ. Double Identity also counts as a weed. Oh, there are weed plants. Never mind. I wonder why I made Cactikill and a flower type. Probably would have made it a weed plant. Flower Raptor, very similar to Dilopho Bloom. I made Flower Raptor first before Dilopho Bloom though. Chomp Bud, this evolves into Blooming Chomp Bud. I really liked using Bloom, if you can't tell. So much so that I, made it an archetype. Fyrent or Emberent in newer versions. I like his hands, but besides that, he's kind of very basic. Terra Fruit, a lamer version of Fruitdactyl. Cocoa Medic, Magma Pepper. Oh, this one was unique. So this guy actually has 2 silver boost options, which, I thought about playing around with, but I just didn't like the idea. Maybe I would have brought back the idea of double silver boost options down the line, but this guy actually has 2, so we'll have to see if we can find them later. This is Silver Guaco Gator. I think Guaco Gator, the base form, is far cooler. Lily Bud evolves into Lily Bloom. Oh, here's Silver Solar Healer. I don't know why it loses the mask. The mask was cool. How Silver Boost works in the newer versions, it doubles health, doubles attack. I think a silver boosted plant only gets one of the attacks from its base form, and it doubles that, and then it gets the special ability. And the reason why all silver boosts have a special or a when played effect, or like a special ability like this, they weren't in this version. They weren't all when played, but it's because there were no spell cards. So this was really the only way to get, they kind of worked as a plant you play and a spell card. Tornadover, like a tornado clover. A lot of these are very similar to Plants vs. Zombie plants. So Triope, which evolves from the Peasketeers. It's just peas. This was the first card I made, and I like it, but there's a very clear reason why I didn't bring it back. It's just so weird and dumb. Here's Turnrip, very similar to his newer versions. Magnanut. I definitely improved Magnanut's design in terms of making it look more like a plant. This kind of just looks like a weird robot thing. Weed Warp, pretty different from its newer version. More, I don't want to say stylized, less Cthulhu really is what I'm going for. No weird tentacles. Here's Bloodstinger. Very different from its newer iteration. I think its newer iterations are way better. Here's Cabolder. Now, it's not actually Cabolder, but Boulder. I misspelled it. But, very similar. This, I think, shows a lot better the idea that it rolls in a straight line and damages everything in a straight line. The newer version kind of struggles with that, in my opinion, because it's got leaves on the bottom of its base, so it looks like it's like stuck into the ground. Here's Fruitdactyl. obviously vastly improved its design in the newer version. Moon Music Bloom. So this is Music Bloom. Well, all three versions of Music Bloom are vastly different from one another. This one actually might be my favorite though. I'm not a terribly big fan of the current version. I think it needed one more try at drawing it. Squish Squash, which eventually became Squash Clops. Basically same design, only I gave him an extra leg. Here's Silver Coconut, much different than all versions of Silver Coconut have had drastic changes. I never really got down the idea of what I wanted for Silver Coconut. And then here's the base form, very similar, only tan arms instead of green. Star Bloom, pretty basic. You know, the idea is that it's got 5 laser beams that it shoots out in random directions. Here's Hydrapple, still very cool. In this version, he's got wings. Terrorweed, this just looks like a very lame attempt at drawing a spikeweed from Plants vs. Zombies. I think the newer version of Terrorweed looks way better. So this is supposed to be Bean Dini, like Houdini, but it's Ben Dini, and I never liked this design. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a star, but it looks like chin hair, like he's got a beard or something. Always, like, these two guys, I hated them. I never liked them. It always felt like they were something from VeggieTales. Now, because I was basing this off of Plants vs. Zombies, Plants vs. Zombies 2, I should specify, and they have plants, you know, like Chili Bean and Stunyon, which are, you know, burping and farting related. So obviously I made a fart bean, and then down the line there's a burping onion. I like the burping onion way more than fart bean. Fart bean's just very childish and, you know, very lowbrow humor. Glow bean, this evolves into taser bean. Mago shroom, this actually evolves into magna nut. And usually I don't have cross evolutions, but, you know, I think there's like 2 cases, Magna Shroom and Magna Nut, and then I think there's one other. Tricera Shroom, not a very good design. I think its evolution isn't very good either. Bubble Shroom, very basic. Yeah, here's Styraco Shroom, or well, Cyraco Shroom, since I misspelled it. This one's a little better. It looks more like a rhinoceros, though. Doesn't really, with the frill, doesn't really show the frill of a Triceratops. Topsy Shroom, very basic. Oh, it's got a silver version. It's basically the same thing. Nothing too fancy. Bud Shroom, this evolved into the fungus one. Silver Bubble Shroom. I actually really like this one. I liked how I positioned it. It's very unique. I usually don't do that. Shade Shroom. Shroom Tank. All the shrooms are very basic, unfortunately. Potato, which is like a potato mine. Half Nut. Silver Pumpkin. Pretty much just a ripoff of Pumpkin from Yu-Gi-Oh! Here's the Burping Onion. I like this design a little bit better, only because I like how the onion looks. Nutium. I don't know why I made this card. It's just the evolution of Half Nut. Pumpkin. Again, not as much of a ripoff of Yu-Gi-Oh's Pumpkin, but still. Moon Lantern, just a smaller version. Potato Burn, it's a burning potato. Whoop-de-doo. Moon Cacti, this evolves into Cactikill. Cat Boulder evolves into Cat Boulder. Here's Silver Spino Veggie, which I believe Spino Veggie evolves from Carno Veggie. Yeah, here's Spino Veggie. Again, the base form is way cooler than the silver. I really like that. That's so lean and slick. Oh, that one's cool. I like that one. Cornelius, just a kernel. Very dumb. Here's Grape Trio. He evolves. Basically, I made a grape version of the Peaceketeers, which is a lot better in my opinion, but still very boring. Here's Veggie Viper. The idea is still there, but I definitely improved upon like how he looks and what he's made of in newer versions. Colonel Pop evolves from Cornelius. Here's the Grapesketeers. I'm moving a little faster because it's already been 20 minutes, and I've still got, you know, some of the other version 2 cards to show you guys. Here's Silver Melon Brute. This is obviously a winter melon design. Orange Egg. I stole this from when I was talking about the other guy's card game. He had like an orange the fruit Godzilla creature, I think, or maybe it was a different thing. But basically, he had an egg that evolved into a plant Godzilla, and I pretty much just stole that. Only I made it an orange, so I'm pretty sure it's different than what he had. Lemon nut. I don't know why it's. I don't know why I made these nut, lime, and lemon nut. I don't know why I made these the way they are. Pretty, I like lemon nut though. I like how its eyes shift. That's cool. Here's Nuddle, evolves into Geek Nut. Yeah, that looks, I think it's supposed to be a pistachio or whatever, but it just looks like a clam. Here's Sad Nut. So as you can see, Sad Nut had like rain clouds, and then Blooming Nut, which is what it evolved into, had a sun. So that's why I did it like that. But then I introduced sun cards, and so it's just Moon Knight. It's just a turtle. I don't know why it pretended that it was a plant, but it's just a turtle. Flame Nut. Oh, Poteburn evolves into this, which is Flame Nut. So there's another case of cross evolution. Silver Brachiofruit. That's a little bit better than regular Brachiofruit, but it's still. Bleh. Oh, and then I had primal cards. Primal cards were like were like silver boosts, only they didn't have an ability, but they were stronger, I think. Or more aggressive. So here's Primal Elekapple, and Elekapple evolves from Apple Core. Here's Primal Triope. That's crazy. I forgot about these. Silver Thornapple, a Roman warrior. Here's Primal Thornapple, which is more like a terror bird type thing. And here's regular Thornapple, which evolves from Thorn Kumquat. Thornapple obviously being a pineapple. Here's Guaco Gator. This is so much cooler than the silver version. And then here's Guaki, which is just Guacodile from Plants vs. Zombies. Pit Twin, very similar. Only in this version he spits pits, whereas the other versions he can't attack. Cherry Popper evolves from Pit Twin. Definitely, I like this design. I don't know, between this design and the newer version of Cherry Popper, I honestly couldn't tell you which one I prefer more. I think the newer version is more unique and less, cherry bomb, but it's so good looking. Here's Silver Magma Pepper and both of these are Silver Magma Pepper, but they evolve. They're two different cards. Again, another card set that I hate, Jack Weed and Weed Ann, which is supposed to be Jackie Chan and whatnot. I don't know why I did that. It's so dumb. Laga, weird log. Silver Dragon Weed. This is one of the few silver boosts that I think is just so cool and so awesome. This is essentially the spiritual predecessor to Snapworm. And here's the base form, Dragon Weed. Here's Weed Ann. I'm just going to skip over it because it's dumb. Sun Guardian, the opposite to Moon Knight. It's not really a plant though, it's just a weird green guy with a big sword and a sun shield. Octokelp, Silver Solar Fern, like a dandelion. Sun Fern, base form. Scorpio Leaf, this is what the newer versions of Stinger Leaf take inspiration from, but I actually really like Stinger Leaf. I failed to mention that. I really like Stinger Leaf's design. It's a very cutesy, mascot type design. But then Scorpio Leaf is just very lame. I hate it so much. Sunweed throws sun discs like Tron. Stegoweed, this one's okay. Ankylonut's way better though. Shockweed, just fucking the electric plant from PvZ. Here's Moonlord Zenith. Zenuth or whatever, and he's the opposite to Sunlord or Tulip. Oh, here's Troll Leaf. Strongest card in the game right here, guys. Best card. And then here's the Orangezilla that evolves from the Orange Egg. I really like his design. This is the ultimate version of the sun and space god, or night god, or whatever, moon god. You actually have to sacrifice one of them to play this, and he does infinite damage. It's the ultimate card. He's not a plant, but he's still fucking cool. So that's all the cards for the base game, or the original version, version 1. And then here are going to be some cards from version 2. In no particular order, some of these are cards that didn't make it into the newest version of Phytora, while others are just, very massive, like so different from the new version that I just wanted to show them off. So here's Phytora, a Paraminotaur. And then this version works very similar to the newer version. You got attack, defense, health, point cost. It was far less refined, but I think you were limited to playing one card per turn, or one plant and then one spell, and then you could evolve on top of that, so I don't know. Then we have Lunar Bloom. Probably wasn't even going to make it in any of the sets. Pretty interesting design nonetheless. It's got a bunch of weird like tails in the back. Grenolives, I forgot about this card, but I think it's so cool. That was probably going to come down the line. I was going to have like a military or modern set, and Grenolives was probably going to be coming in that set. Hazel Knight 2. I love this design. I wish I remade it in the newer version, but Hazel Knight was going to be kept for set 3, which was going to be medieval. Then we have Lady Orchid, much more bug-like and less plant-like in this version. Grimment, not Jester Grimment. This is just a more generic Reaper mushroom, whereas when I made it Jester Grimment, it got a lot more personality. Jam Slime, this is more of like a cutesy mascot type version, but the Jam Slime that I made was in the newer version was far better. And then here's Music Bloom. This is a lot different than that version and a lot different than the current version, which is pretty crazy. Music Bloom has had constant design shifts throughout its entire life. I think I like this one more than the newer version, and I think I like that one the most, which is interesting. You would think the more times I redrew it and redesigned it, but no. Zombicite doesn't really look like a plant, but it's still cool nonetheless. Though there's a reason why it definitely didn't make it into the version. I tried to remake Zombicite into more like the cordyceps ant thing, but it eventually became Wart Spore. Here's Seed Missiles. I think originally Seed Missiles was supposed to be deal damage based off of how many cards you have in your hand. Here's Chomping Bloom, a redesigned version. He's got like a little angler lure. Aroma Queen, a very cool design in my opinion. This is supposed to be like the opposite to Tater Lord. Bloat Toad, so much better in the newer version. Like this, it's just wow. It's wow. This version is just not good. Here's Spore Moth and Silver Spore Moth. Funny enough, these two were supposed to be in the newer version of Phytora. I even drew them, but I didn't like them. They didn't look plant enough. And they were actually replaced by, if I remember correctly, Zombicite, the newer version, where it's like the gravestone and then like the zombie. Emberent, very similar to its current version, only instead of having charcoal bark, it has, regular bark and then has fire hands, which I don't like. I added the fire hands later on because I thought it would be cool. I hate it so much. I hated it when I added it, and I hate it to this day, but I obviously couldn't remove it because then I would have to remake the entire card, and that wasn't worth it. Coconut, very different from even that version, and it's much closer to its current version, but still has those tan arms. And then here's the silver version of Coconut. It's just like a completely different design. The idea was that it was supposed to be like a rolling boulder type thing, but like it's just not as cool as like the Centurion. Here's Summer Ent, a lot different, more generic and fantasy creature. And then here's the silver version. I actually think this version of Silver Summer Ent is a lot better than the one we currently have, but it's nice to have weird and wacky designs, like out there designs. Here's Cocoa Hammer, another an equip card that didn't make it. Kaboom Seed, which eventually became Dynamo Seed. Dynamo Seed's so much better. The Ent's Blessing, similar idea to the current version, only this one, instead of having the hands of the Ents, It just has colors for all the types. Bark armor, more not as cool as the current version. It's just like slabs of bark ripped off a tree, whereas the newer version is like armor forged into the shape of a bark. And then here's Silver Tarrowweed. I wanted to show this one off because in this version, right away, you can already see the change from the base version, but even from here, I improved it vastly to its newest version. All the cards are here, you know, much bigger stack. I just wanted to show you a smaller section of them. But you can see all these cards on the tabletop workshop of current Phytora. I believe some of the pages are starting to fade away for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why it's doing that. I was gonna wait to mention this, but I might as well mention it now. If you go to my channel, YouTube channel right now, you can either click the link on my channel banner or go to my channel description, and there you will see Google Drive that has a print and play version of Phytora. I got the idea from a wonderful commenter. Thanks to his, great idea, I made a print and play version. It has all the cards, it has tokens, it's got the board, it's got everything you need to play Phytora. You just gotta print it out and cut it out and go ahead and have fun. I plan to put, the majority of my games into that folder or Google Drive. So, I'll make sure to mention whenever I update it and add new stuff there. Who knows, maybe I'll even add this version of Phytora on there, though that's not a guarantee. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this epic breakdown of the older versions of Phytora. The next Phytora video will probably be the last video. It's going to be kind of a breakdown of my experience working with Phytora, what went well, what went wrong, kind of just a huge retrospective of the entire series, I guess you could say. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's all I have for today. So see you next time. Bye.